Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you about some of the issues with left-wing veganism. Now, the title of the video was a little bit clickbaity. You can be a left-wing vegan, you can be a right-wing vegan, you can be a central vegan, you can be anarchist vegan, you can be any type of vegan you want to be. The Vegan Society definition of veganism is veganism seeks to exclude, as far as practicable and possible, any exploitation to animals as far as is practically possible. So under that definition, you can be any type of vegan you want to be. However, I think there are some severe issues with left-wing veganism in general, which I'll get into in this video. Okay, so if you were triggered by the title of this video and you came to tell me that you can be a left-wing vegan and blah 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 and right-wing vegans aren't really vegan, then you now understand what it's like to be ostracised. One of the main issues with left-wing veganism is ostracising right-wing vegans. It's the calling them sexist, racist, homophobic, all of these other isms, simply because they think differently from you. And I'm not saying every single left-wing vegan will do this. Not every single left-wing vegan will do this. However, there are quite a substantial amount of left-wing vegans who will. And this in no way helps the animal rights movement. I've been vegan for almost 10 years and I'm not going to stop being vegan. However, conservative vegans have a much lower retention rate than left-wing vegans. And one of the issues for this is the fact that if they go on to a recipe page and they want to find a nice recipe for a tomato pasta that they really love, then the fact that they have maybe a Donald Trump profile picture, or a picture of someone standing, someone crouching down with like a cross over it, will get them excluded from the group is completely ridiculous. You should help anyone that wants to become vegan if you're interested in the animal rights movement. You should encourage anyone who is vegan to go to outreach and to actually talk to other conservatives, because I've been to outreach and there was this girl at outreach that was talking to me about TERFs or something, and I was like, I think TERFs are right, to be honest. I think that transgender people shouldn't be allowed in female prisons. I think transgender people shouldn't be allowed in female changing rooms. I think transgender people shouldn't be allowed to do female sports. And so you need to have conservatives there who are able to talk on the same level to people at outreach. Having it in this exclusive left-wing space is no good for anyone. It's no good for the majority of the voting public. So let's go over the first idea, that veganism has to be communist. I think this is completely ridiculous, but I had someone tell me that veganism has to be communist because if we're to live in a vegan world, essentially a communist world would have no profit. And so if a communist world had no profit and no money, would have no animal exploitation, because we're only exploiting animals for profit. This is completely ridiculous. It doesn't really cover the core reasons that people buy and purchase meat. Now, people buy meat for 3 reasons: taste, habit, and tradition. And in general, people buy products for 3 reasons. Again, these are accessibility, availability, and price. So it may, in a sense, cover one of the reasons that people buy meat. So it would make meat the same price, would make vegan meat the same price as actual meat. It would make vegan yogurt the same price as cow's yogurt. It would make vegan eggs the same price as chicken eggs. So it would lower the price of these vegan products, but people may still not buy them. People may still not buy them because they don't taste the same. People may not buy them because they are because they don't have tradition surrounding them. I mean, you don't have a tradition surrounding a nut roast. You have a tradition surrounding a roast chicken. And so you're not actually you're only engaging in one reason that people buy products and not the whole spectrum. And so you're still going to have people living in a commune or a communist society who want to eat meat. You're still going to have people because it's traditional, or because it tastes nice, or because it's a habit. Or you may have them still buying meat even though they might not want to buy meat, because the meat's more accessible than the vegan chicken. The meat's more available than the vegan chicken. And so it's kind of ridiculous on that level, in the fact that you're not covering the reasons that people buy products. The second issue that I have is that it's not just the reason that we produce meat in these massive factory farms is not just because of profit. It's also because you're able to feed a large population of people using a small space. You're able to use the space more effectively, and you're able to make meat. It's not just less expensive, but it's also you're able to make it so that people are able to eat more meat, essentially. If you had organic farms everywhere, and everywhere was an organic farm, people just wouldn't be able to eat as much meat as they want to. And so it's about producing the amount of stuff that people want to eat. Yeah? So people in the UK want to drink a lot of milk, they want to eat a lot of meat. People eat meat at least once a day, and they eat quite large portions of the meat. There's a massive health issue surrounding the amount of meat that people are eating. And because people want to eat this amount of meat, we have factory farms. They have factory farms in communes. So I find this idea completely ridiculous, that you wouldn't have a factory farm in a commune. They have a factory farm in a commune so that they can use the space that they have to produce a lot of meat for the people who want to eat it. The other issue that I have is that it how do I say this? It isolates people like me. I don't want to live in a commune. I want to work, and I want to get paid for the work that I do. I don't want to be working a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job and not have much time to do my PhD. I want to do a PhD and maybe work a small part-time job to just make enough to make ends meet. That's what I want out of my life. And I think that what people want out of their life should be respected, and people should get paid for the work that they do. I don't think I deserve to get paid as much as someone working a full-time job, because I decided on my own back to do a PhD. If I decided on my own back to work in a factory, I should get paid a proper wage, 9 to 5, for working in a factory. But as I chose to work part-time and do a PhD, I should only get paid for that. And yeah, I mean, I just don't understand this pushing the idea that we should live in a commune on people, because it isolates them, and it doesn't seem very effective anyway. I mean, it doesn't seem like you necessarily have a vegan society if you lived in a commune anyway. So the second weird argument that I hear from left-wing vegans is that we don't need economic growth in order to have a vegan society. So this idea is that economic growth exploits animals through destroying the environment, and therefore we shouldn't have economic growth if we want a vegan society. Now, I find this idea completely ridiculous. The reason I find this idea ridiculous is because in order for people to choose products and buy things, products need to be more accessible, more available, and at a lower price. The reason that so many more people are going vegan and so many more people are buying more vegan products is because we have more vegan products in the shops, and because there is competition between these vegan products to lower the price. If we didn't have that kind of competition between different vegan products, and we didn't have as many vegan products as we've got now, so they weren't as accessible and available as they are now, less people would go vegan, and less people would eat a more vegan diet. Less people would eat the vegan sausage roll when they went to Greggs as opposed to the non-vegan sausage roll. Less people would choose the vegan sandwich as opposed to the non-vegan sandwich. And essentially innovation and making all of these new vegan exciting products that we have is a very wasteful process. It involves the company trialing the product. So for example, with Greggs, what Greggs would have to do if they wanted to make vegan sausage rolls is they would have to, and I know the vegan sausage roll went very well, but what they'd have to do is they'd have to trial those vegan sausage rolls. So they'd have to trial a recipe of these vegan sausage rolls in a few branches throughout the UK. So they've trialed these vegan sausage rolls in a few branches throughout the UK. And let's say no one liked the vegan sausage roll. So they were like, this would basically mean that they would waste their vegan sausage roll. So they'd have to throw a load of the vegan sausage rolls that they've produced in the bin. And then they'd have to start from the drawing board again. And they'd have to make a new 2.0 vegan sausage roll, which was a new recipe. And then they'd have to trial those in a certain amount of their restaurants. And if that worked, then they'd sell the whole product. But through actually innovating and making that vegan sausage roll, they've thrown a whole load of them in the bin because that particular recipe didn't work. This kind of wastefulness happens on a smaller scale as well. So what ends up happening is when you have more new vegan products produced, you'll have non-vegans buying them. So you'll have non-vegans thinking, maybe going into Tesco's, and they see there's some nice coconut milk on the shelf. So they pick up the coconut milk, but they also pick up their cow's milk as well. And what ends up happening is they might really like the coconut milk. So they drink all of the coconut milk, but then their cow's milk goes off because they weren't drinking it. So what will end up happening is they'll end up throwing the cow's milk away. And until they get out the habit of buying this cow's milk, they'll waste the cow's milk that they brought. So innovation is a very wasteful process, both from the consumer level and the level of the business. But it's actually needed to make these vegan products more accessible, more available, and at a lower price. The second kind of issue that I have with this idea is that we don't need economic growth in a vegan society, is the fact that you can have economic growth without producing more products. You can have economic growth through creating more services, like more online apps or more video calling services or Facebook type apps. You don't need to actually produce more products to have economic growth. And I think from now on, a lot of the things that we're going to be doing is going to be online anyway. So now we're going to go over intersectional veganism. And if you don't know what intersectional veganism is, it's basically the idea that you have to fight for, that in order to fight for animal oppression, you have to fight for oppression of disabled people, oppression of women, oppression of black people, oppression of trans people. And this idea is completely ridiculous. Oppression isn't interlinked, it's just not. And you can fight for one form of oppression while at the same time oppressing other people. Hitler is a classic example of someone who had very, very, very good animal rights and animal welfare policies. He had a policy which stopped animal testing. He had another policy that said if you abused an animal, you get sent to a concentration camp. So he had these very good animal welfare policies. I mean, the one about getting sent to a concentration camp if you exploit animals is very extreme. But he had very good animal welfare policies. However, he killed millions of Jews. He killed millions of gay people. He killed millions of disabled people. And obviously, his behaviour in killing those disabled people and those Jewish people was very wrong. However, he's a classic example of someone who exploited gay people and Jewish people, but at the same time had very good animal welfare policies and fought for animal rights. So one of the things that I really don't get about intersectional vegans is that they're inconsistent. On one hand, they say that you need to link with anti-racism organisations, anti-sexism organisations, anti-transphobia organisations in order to promote animal rights to them, in order to get them on side and actually listen to what you have to say about animal rights. They say these people, because they're oppressed, apparently, will be more interested in animal rights. Okay, so on one hand they'll say that. On the other hand, if you go to a Black Lives Matter protest, let's say, and you say, and you hold up a sign, let's say, and you say, animal, and you know, it says something like, all oppression is interlinked, down with sexism and racism and animal exploitation. They'll basically call you out for that sign saying animal exploitation, because they will say, well, it's not the right time to talk about animal rights. Well, the whole point in you, from my understanding, the whole point in you going to these protests and linking up with the other organisations was in order to get them on side about animal rights. But then you complain about someone having a sign saying down with oppression. You complain about someone doing, let's say, a TikTok video where they say it's bad killing black people and it's bad killing animals. And you'll complain and say, oh, well, it's not the right time to talk about animal exploitation. Well, I thought that was the whole point of you going. I thought that was the whole point of you linking up with these anti-racism organisations. It just, I mean, that's one of the things that really annoys me about the intersectional vegans, that it seems like they put human exploitation above animal exploitation. And you know, as vegans, we should be focusing on both, and we shouldn't be complaining about other vegans for actually saying that animal exploitation and human exploitation is bad. We shouldn't be complaining about anyone's form of activism. Right, so the second issue that I have is with having a go at organisations which you consider sexist or racist or homophobic. A classic example of this is actually Anonymous for the Voiceless. And this is where one of the admin of Anonymous for the Voiceless Facebook page actually posted a picture of a guy holding up a pig's head at Black Lives Matter protest. And he said, why exploit an animal when you're standing up for the exploitation of black people? And AV came out and apologised for this. They actually got rid of the admin person who was who posted this on the AV page, and a lot of vegans are still avoiding AV just because they said we are an animal rights organisation and we do not want to talk about Black Lives Matter or sexism or racism on our page, which I find completely ridiculous. We should have people that don't particularly like Black Lives Matter being vegan running Facebook pages. We should have people who don't particularly like Black Lives Matter running Anonymous for the Voiceless groups and going to Anonymous for the Voiceless groups. I think it's ridiculous not supporting organisations which support animal rights just because they've done one or two things that you're against. Another example of this is actually PETA. A lot of vegans hate PETA simply because they consider PETA sexist for posting pictures of naked women on their, Facebook page or on billboards or in various other ways. Now, I don't particularly like the idea of having naked women in media. I don't know, it just doesn't do anything for me. People often, when people see, in terms of advertising, when people see a picture of a naked woman on a billboard, they don't actually know what the advertisement is about. They mainly just focus on the naked woman. So they remember the advert more because of the naked woman, but they don't remember the brand or product that the people are trying to sell. So, for example, if they see a picture of Pamela Anderson on a billboard promoting veganism, then they won't remember that Pamela Anderson was promoting PETA. They won't remember that she was promoting veganism. They'll just remember naked Pamela Anderson. I also kind of have an issue with the way that I think that the way that women are portrayed in media is in terms of being sexually promiscuous and sexually active, and I just think it gives a bad image towards women, particularly young women, because it indicates that women are supposed to be promiscuous and sexually active, when really that's not what, I don't think that's what women's sexuality is like. I think women are a lot more reserved with their sexuality. I think women tend to have a much lower sex drive than men. And I think that having these billboards doesn't really respect that. I also think having these billboards that are promoting women being sexually promiscuous, it promotes the image in young women's heads that they're supposed to be sexually promiscuous. And sexual promiscuity, in women and in men, it causes horrendous things for society. It causes a high divorce rate, it causes a high unplanned pregnancy rate, it causes a high rate of STDs. And so I don't think we should be promoting sexual promiscuity, and that's my main issue with the naked billboards. But the whole reason that PETA has these naked billboards, and I think this is very, very clever from PETA's point of view, is the fact that they probably know that the majority of vegans are intersectional people and are against sexism and racism and other isms. and they know that it's going to get on the nerves of these intersectional vegan types, and they're going to talk about it on their YouTube channel. They're going to talk about it on someone else's YouTube channel, like Roger Yates did. And in so doing, they're basically promoting PETA's brand. They're basically promoting veganism. And it's the same with the right-wing channels who are talking about PETA's stupid new campaign. It's the same with the gaming channels that are talking about PETA's stupid campaign. It's a way of promoting their brand very cleverly through getting negative advertisement for it. So yeah, anyway, thank you for watching, guys. Please subscribe, like this video, and comment down below if you like it. Bye, guys.